So, ladies and gentlemen of the press, this afternoon, we, the minority, have called you here basically to address you on sections 207 and 208 of the Criminal Offences Act. Our demand is basically that these two sections must go. We demand an end to the criminalization of criticism and call on government to finish what the Kufuor administration started in 2001. We have called you here because a young Ghanaian, Kamila Al-Hassan, is at this hour in prison, sentenced yesterday, Thursday, the 16th of July, 2026, to 1 year with hard labor for a TikTok video. We say plainly, this should trouble every Ghanaian, whatever their party colors. Ms. Al-Hassan was convicted under Section 207 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960. Quote, offensive conduct conducive to a breach of the peace, end quote. The police service has since indicated she will face a second prosecution under Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act for the same underlying conduct. We, the minority, condemn both the prosecution and the conviction. A 1-year custodial sentence with hard labor for a social media post is not proportionate. It is not justice. It is a warning shot fired at every Ghanaian who owns a smartphone. And Ms. Al-Hassan is not alone. Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronya DC, was remanded on identical charges of offensive conduct and publication of false news before being granted bail of 100,000 cedis. Al-Hassan Abdul Rahman was arrested in Tamale over a Facebook post. Alfred Abebio Kumi was seized from his home in a pre-dawn raid over a petition to the president. David Esando was taken by masked armed operatives over a post about, quote, Dumso, end quote. And for a frightening stretch, no one, not his family, not his lawyers, could establish where he was being held. Broadcaster Councillor George Lutrot now faces a Section 207 charge of his own. This is not a series of unconnected incidents. It is a pattern. A law Ghana has already have repealed once before. In 2001, the Kufuor administration, with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo serving as Attorney General, repealed Ghana's criminal and seditious libel laws. That decision made Ghana the first country in Africa to fully free itself of insult laws, and it earned this country the admiration of press freedom organizations across the continent and beyond. It was and remains one of the proudest achievements of that administration and of the new patriotic party. But sections 207 and 208 were left standing. They now do, in substance, the very job that criminal libel used to do. They let the machinery of the state be pointed at a citizen for what that citizen said, rather than for what that citizen did. 25 years after 2001, it is time to finish the job. We are not asking government to invent something new. We, the mighty minority, are asking government to take the next step on a road this country has already chosen to walk. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we have to call it what it is: criminal libel through the back door. Let us not be delicate about this, because delicacy will not serve the truth. When a person can be arrested, remanded, and marched before a circuit court for a video, a Facebook post, or a petition to the president, merely because the content is thought to be insulting, offensive, or embarrassing to those in power, the state has recreated criminal libel in every respect that matters. while avoiding the one thing that would require it to answer for what it is doing, calling it by its name. Nobody needs to repeal the reforms of 2001 to bring criminal libel back. All that is required is a prosecutor willing to reach for Section 207 or Section 208 whenever the words used were unflattering, and a charge sheet that speaks of, quote, public order, end quote, breach of the peace, end quote, rather than of libel or defamation. The label has changed. The purpose and the effect of the citizen sitting in a cell today has not. We say to this NDC government plainly, you are doing it already, one needless prosecution at a time, in the name of an order these prosecutions do nothing to preserve, and peace that TikTok video has ever actually broken. Look again at how these arrests are carried out. Masked officers, sometimes armed, sometimes before dawn, for a citizen typing at a keyboard. That is not the posture of a state responding to a genuine threat to public order. It is the posture of a state seeking to make an example, to frighten the next commentator into silence before they press, quote, post, end quote. That is precisely what criminal libel prosecutions did to newspaper editors in the 90s. Section 207 and 208 are now being asked to do the same job to a generation that publishes on TikTok and Facebook instead of in print. The uniform has changed. The instinct has not. Now what we see is that Ghana is being led behind and not getting ahead with this conduct of state machinery. This is not simply a Ghanaian argument. It is where the law is moving everywhere that takes free expression seriously. The United Kingdom, the origin of Section 207, removed the word insulting from its own equivalent public order law in 2014. Kenya's Court of Appeal in March this year struck down that country's false publication offences as, quote, unguided missiles likely to trap innocent citizens. Zambia's High Court reached the same conclusion in 2014. Ghana was once the leader of this question in Africa. We should not now be the country still holding onto the law that London, Nairobi, and Lusaka have each in their own way moved beyond. Now, we are not saying that the repeal of this law should be a license for irresponsible speech. That is not what we are saying. We, the mighty minority, wish to completely be clear, because this point will be misrepresented by those who prefer that the status quo. We are not asking anyone to tolerate falsehood, insult, or recklessness. We condemn irresponsible speech and irresponsible publication in all its forms, whoever is responsible for it, and regardless of which party that person supports. A citizen who is defamed, insulted, or misrepresented is entitled to redress, and Ghana already provides it. A private citizen may sue for defamation in civil courts. A journalist or a media house that abuses its platform can be held to account by the National Media Commission. What we object is the use of the prison cell and the criminal record as the first resort for free speech that merely offends or embarrasses, rather than the last resort for conduct that genuinely threatens a person's safety or the public peace. Let us be equally plain. Section 74 and 75 of the very same Criminal and Other Offences Act already punish a genuine threat to kill or harm another person, and nothing we are proposing today touches those provisions. Repeal is not indulgence, it is precision. A government that enforces the law selectively is not enforcing the law at all. Therefore, we say directly to the NDC government, your own spokespersons have told the international press that this is simply enforcing of existing law and that there is no systematic crackdown. We ask the NDC government to explain then why it is only critics of this administration who are finding themselves in handcuffs. We are yet to see a single government-aligned commentator arrested for the reckless claims and personal attacks that circulate daily in support of this government. If the law is truly being applied without regard to political color, government should have no difficulty demonstrating it. Until it does, Ghanaians are entitled to conclude that Section 207 and 208 are being used not to keep the peace, but to keep score. This too is not new. In 1998, journalists Kweku Bakun, as he then was, and Haruna Atta were convicted and imprisoned under the very criminal libel law this country later repealed for a story about the then First Lady. Different decade, different party in power, same instinct. When criticism becomes inconvenient, reach for the criminal law. We say to the governing National Democratic Congress, you have inherited a tool that has, in the past, been turned against your own. It will not stay in friendly hands forever. No government is permanent. The safest guarantee any of us can build is a law that protects the critic, not the incumbent. The most troubling of all, a president who was once one of us. There is a further irony in this moment that we cannot pass over in silence. His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, began his own working life as a trainee journalist at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation before moving into public communications and public relations roles, including at a foreign embassy in Accra and at an international development organization. He has, on record, described himself as a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association, and as recently as last year, told the nation in his own words that he will not preside over a government that abuses or intimidates journalists. We take the president at his word on that commitment, and we welcome it. But Section 207 and 208 are not used only against journalists. They are used against ordinary citizens, students, activists, and commentators who will never carry a GJA card, yet who enjoy exactly the same constitutional right to speak freely as any accredited reporter. A president who understands from his own career what it is to search for the right word against a deadline, to file a story that offends someone in authority, and to depend on the protection of a free press to do that work honestly, ought to be the last person in this republic to preside over the criminal prosecution of a citizen for an insult, a rumor, or an inconvenient claim. We do not say the president personally ordered these prosecutions. We do not say government led by a former journalist who tells the country he still carries a GJA card bears a special responsibility to know exactly what these charges do to a person and a special duty to stop them. It is precisely because we expect better of this president, given what he has been, that we find this moment so troubling. And precisely for that reason, we call on him directly to instruct the Attorney General to end what we are seeing and experiencing. Our appeal to other side of the house, now to our NDC colleagues, we extend a genuine and open hand to you who are on the majority bench in Parliament and to your government. This is not and must not be allowed to become a partisan issue. A law that can jail a government critic today can jail a government supporter tomorrow. The day the political fortunes of this country turn, as they always eventually do, we ask NDC majority to join us, the mighty minority, not as opponents being asked to concede a point, but as fellow custodians of a republic that will outlast every one of us in this room. Support the repeal of sections 207 and 208. Instruct the Attorney General to withdraw the pending prosecutions. Let this be remembered as a moment when both sides of the House chose the country over party. Finally, our demands. We therefore, notwithstanding the private members' bill we propose for the House to consider, we demand, first, the immediate withdrawal of all pending prosecutions under Sections 207 and 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, including the second prosecution threatened against Kamila Al-Hassan. Second, the discharge of any person currently serving a sentence, including Kwame Nkrumah II. There's a gentleman, Kwame Nkrumah II, who was jailed 6 months or so ago over a TikTok video. Third, the passage without delay of legislation repealing both sections, the legislation the mighty minority is proposing, along the lines of the bill already before the House. And fourth, a public commitment from government that no citizen will face criminal charges for speech that is merely critical, embarrassing, or unwelcome to those in power. Ghana chose in 2001 to be the country that led Africa away from criminal insult laws. We are asking this parliament in 2026 to choose to finish that journey. We are asking His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama, to ensure that no prosecution forthwith is undertaken by the police. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, let me take this opportunity to thank you for your patience and your kind audience. God bless you.